Welcome back, my friends, to set 14, and I want to show you 3 builds that will get you through Tocker's trials. And these work pretty consistently depending on what you want to do. The first one I'm going to show you is a fast roll build where you're just going to try to 3-star everything. Then I'm going to show you a fast level build, and then one that might lead to greater rewards. But let me speed everything up so I can get through the game quickly. So the first build is Nitro Amp, or you could also use Nitro Strategist. Either one of those will work for this, but the basic goal is to roll like crazy early to try and get 3-star champs. You want to get all your Nitros up to 3 stars at basically any cost. Now, what you do want to do, because they give you these little mini champion duplicators that can only be used on 1-star champs, is wait until you need to use them. Don't use it to create 2 stars. Wait until you have 8 of the units already and you just need 1 more. For augments, just grab anything that will give you gold or more champion duplicators. The faster you can get yourself up to 3 stars, the faster you can collect coins that make that little Nitro bot into the giant T-Hex that will ultimately win you the match. One thing that's very important is you need to pay attention to the percentages. So early on, you're looking for your Nidalee and your Kindred. You want to get them up to 3 stars. So you're going to roll when you have the best percentage chance of getting 1 cost. And as you can see right now, it's a 55% chance at level 4. Once you have 3-starred both Nidalee and Kindred, then you don't want to do any more rerolling until you get to the point that it's advantageous to roll for 2s. So you're going to change your strategy at that point. In this particular game, the final Kindred is being really evasive. We used the 2 mini champion duplicators to take our Nidalee up to 3 stars a little earlier, but we can't abandon this strategy until we get the final Kindred. And as you can see, we already have a 2-star Elise and a 2-star Nefari, but not a 3-star Kindred. But again, you just keep sticking with it. There's the Kindred, we can get it after this round. And then what you'll see is that we switch out of now rolling like crazy after we buy the Kindred. Now we're going to collect money until we can level up, which means we want to go above 50. So we're going to be getting maximum interest. If there's a champ we could use, we buy them, but otherwise you stop re-rolling at this point and instead just wait until the percentage chances turn in your favor to roll 2 costs, because we're going to want to gold 3-star the Shyvana and the Nefari, which are 2-cost champs. Now, the augment that's about to come up presented a little bit of a challenge, because normally I would jump on Starry Night if it was first, but we don't really need it anymore. We're almost done with our 1 and 2 cost units, so we can go ahead and bypass it. By the way, this particular fight is the one I have found the most annoying, and the one that if I'm going to lose one along the way, it's going to be this one, because that Cho will scale out of control. But if you've got enough 2 and 3 stars, you will be able to get through it because your little bot is up strong enough at this point. And let's talk a little about itemization. AP items are going to go on Elise and they will stay there. I tend to like itemizing Kindred with AD items that will later switch over to Samira. Now, we've hit the point where we now have a greater percentage chance of rolling 2s, so we're going to start re-rolling again. And that is to try to get our final Shyvana and then more Nefaris. Now, we're going to be able to sometimes pick up things along the way, like we just got a Yuumi, which is an amp champ, so we can put her in and then lock for the next one. But at the moment, we're pretty dedicated to just rolling until we 3-star Shyvana and Nefari. And just in case you don't know and you're wondering why we're 3-starring all these champs over everything else, the way that just changed into Godzilla gains power is by those little coins that we're picking up in between rounds. You get more coins based on the star levels of the champions. So it behooves you to get as many 3 stars as early as possible so you pick up as many coins as possible. Now, since we're just 2 Elises away, we go ahead and use the champion duplicators we got out of that first augment to bring Elise up to gold 3 stars, but we're still in a rolling strategy because we're looking for the gold 3-star Nefari. Again, not necessarily because Nefari is some amazing unit that at 3 stars is going to change the game. It's because that will get us more coins that will make our little monster stronger. Here, we're going to go ahead and get more AD items for Kindred and then some AP items for Annie because she's really strong, especially once we get up to Amp 5. Now that we have gotten Nefari to 3 stars, we are done here, and we're going to have to shift focus a little because we ended up with the Tactician's Crown. We can go ahead and go higher. Some games you get them, some games you don't. But if you do, try and take advantage of the fact and add an additional strategist in, which is what we're going to do here. We'll go to the next level, then roll through and see what we can find. We find a Ziggs, we can put Ziggs in. Now we've triggered strategists, so the front line just got a little bit tankier and the back line got a little stronger. For the final augment, just enhance your team. That's why I went with Radiant Relic at this point, because we're done with the rolling. We don't need to bring someone up to 4 stars. It's not going to help. Elise is our strongest AP, so we can get the Radiant Rabadons on her. This Garen can be a little annoying with some builds. I've found with this build, you get to fly through it. Right now, we're into a leveling strategy because we need to pick up our last Amp champ, which is going to be Samira. And she can be a little bit elusive. As you can see, we have a very low percentage chance of rolling 5 costs. And you don't want to go through your entire bankroll searching for one champ that you don't have a good chance of getting. You're strong enough to get through these levels. They are not that challenging, especially if you have a T-Hex with over 300 stacks on it. You can see it just pretty much roars through the entire thing. The T-Hex is going to make these levels that head into the final showdown pretty easy, so you can use these spots to go ahead and level up so that you have the best chance of getting Samira, who you are going to need at 2 stars. So at this point, you just start picking up 5 costs to try and get Samira out. And you pick up any 5 costs you see just to kind of shrink the pool, and then you just hope that you get her. Now, they've given you a championship duplicator that will work on Samira, so you need to find 2, then bring the kindred items over, and then I get very careful about how I place everything here, because that Kabuko, if it can jump onto a group of your champions all at once, it can wipe out your team. So I like to make sure everyone gets spread out and optimally itemized so that we have the best chance of getting through it. You can get all the way here and then lose this fight, and that gets really frustrating when it happens. But we will now slow everything down for this final fight because it's a pretty cool fight. Ultimately, you're going to be able to get rid of the backline that you're dealing with very quickly with Samira and your T-Hex. However, that Kabuko is very strong, and this is why I say you don't want things too clumped. Notice that the T-Hex is gone, but the rest of the team took care of it, and we come out victorious. Now, I want to show you another strategy that can lead to a lot of fun. So let's say your goal is that you want to create gold 3-star legendary champs. That's you want to hit the 3-star 5 cost. Well, you're not going to do it easily with the Nitro amp. That is to win the game kind of in style. But this build I'm going to show you will easily get you gold 3-star champs. I did it in my hyper roll video. I nicknamed it BM, and that stands for Bastion Marksman. And let's get started. So your goal here is exactly the opposite of your goal in the original build. The first build you want to roll as quickly as possible. Here, you want to save your gold. The only reason you're ever going to spend anything is to buy champs, and then generally only very specific champs, because it's either going to be a Bastion or a Marksman. Start off by itemizing Kindred. You can itemize all you want in this because you get a golden magnetic remover, so you can take items off and on people at will. So don't worry about that. As far as augments go, you're looking for things to make your team stronger. Clockwork Accelerator is excellent for this. You're not too worried about rolling for things like you are in the previous build. You want to itemize everyone as much as you can. Use your mini champion duplicators to create 2 stars early so your team is strong. You want to get to over 50 gold as fast as possible so you can then fast level. Do not re-roll for things unless you're absolutely stuck, but in all honesty, at that point, I'd probably just exit and start over and hope for a better setup. As you can see, you're going to start flying through things. Try to stay above the 10 marks. So if something was going to take you below 40, don't do it. Just stay where you are. Once you get over 50, and once you get to 54, I should say, then you're going to start leveling. And you're not going to stop this until you get up to level 10, because your goal is to get as high a level as fast as possible. These early levels are generally easy enough that you can get through them without having 2-star units, without having too much going on. The only exception I tend to make to the rules of when to level and not is on the bosses. If I'm right on the edge of being able to 2-star something, I might go look for it like that, just so I can make sure I get through it pretty cleanly. As soon as you get stronger units, move your items over. A 2-star Jin is better than a 2-star Kindred. And then you want to start working on your tank items for your frontline units, because they're going to hold everything up. Remember, Clockwork Accelerator is going to increase your attack speed. But in general, you're just going to keep leveling up, putting a new champ out, leveling up, putting a new champ out, and continue rinse and repeat. Now, the reason we are doing this is because the ultimate goal is to get to a gold 3-star 5 cost. But you're going to need high odds of getting the 5 costs in order to do that, and then enough gold to roll so that you can actually 3-star them, which means you can't take too much time trying to make yourself stronger for all of these various fights. But again, there are a couple of the bosses that are tricky. We're about to come up to one that I find kind of the most annoying. Here, Noble Sacrifice is great for Bastions because as they go down, other ones will get stronger. But this particular boss, that Cho'Gath in the middle, as I mentioned in the last part, can scale out of control. Make sure you have your best items on your best champs for this fight. Although in reality, if you suffer a loss, it's not the worst thing that's going to happen because you get 3 lives essentially, but for the highest score possible, you want to be able to get through it. And the reason we're using this build is that this particular combination just scales really, really well, especially once you can get Aphelios and Xayah into the picture, which will come a little bit later on once you're up in these levels 8 and 9. The key is just stick with the plan. The Bastions are going to do a great job on holding that front line, and the Marksmen are just going to continue to get stronger as you go. You're ultimately going to shift Kindred out for Xayah or Aphelios, whoever comes last. You're going to get rid of Poppy because you want to get the Exotech item, and you're going to want to bring in Sejuani once you get a hold of her. See, now that we've 2-starred the Aphelios, we can give them the items that used to be on Jin. Now notice how far we are in our leveling journey. We're halfway through level 8, and we haven't gotten out of stage 2 yet. So there's a whole nother stage beyond this where we get to just level up, collect money, and then start slow rolling down to try to get our gold 3-star 5 costs. And yeah, this fight can be pretty vexing, but again, the Bastions just do a great job of holding things up long enough. It helps if you have a 2-star Aphelios on your side. If you don't and you lose, don't stress about it. If you've gotten this far and you still have 2 or 3 lives, you're good to go. Obviously, picking up a Renekton early, well, it's not too early. We are in level 9 now, but picking up a Renekton is going to be very key because he is super, super strong, especially in these next few fights where you're dealing with Zeri, who jumps around, then Annie, who casts a ton, and ultimately Zed, who's also going to jump around. But again, just stay with the strategy. You're over 50 gold, level up. Just keep leveling until you get to 10. This particular fight can be super annoying. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll bring the Bastions back, each one to protect a different one of the Marksmen, depending on how many lives I have left and how I'm feeling. In this case, since we had Renekton, I was pretty confident we could get through it. We now have the Exotech item that we put on Jhin, and we have Xayah, who has come in for Kindred, who's now no longer necessary in the game. Final, we're just going to go try whatever is going to make us stronger. Getting a Radiant item is never going to do you any harm. We can put a Bloodthirster on Renekton and then enhance the Sterix gauge, because ultimately we're going to be relying on Renekton to do a ton of work in this final push towards the end game. But notice where we are. We're almost up to level 10, and we still have half a board to go. And the goal just remains the same. Even once you get to 10, you're not just going to immediately roll down. They'll get the championship duplicators at this point. You can use it just to kind of fill in whatever you need. But stay above 50, and you're going to do that all the way until the very end. And that's when you're going to ultimately roll down. You're now level 10, so you can go ahead and use your rerolls, but stop once you get under 50. I do a little bit of shuffling in terms of buying multiple champs so that I can then sell them back to try to figure out who I want to 3-star, which in this case I decided, you know what, it's going to be Samira. So I'm now focused on picking up just the additional couple of champs I need. I don't have a 2-star Sejuani now, but then also getting Renektons and Samiras. And I will play above 50 as long as I can to try to make all of that happen. I now have a 2-star Samira and then 2 1-star Samiras on the bench. We're picking up tons of gold from winning the fights and then using it just to roll down to 50, putting out items where we need them to be, but these fights are not going to be all that challenging. Again, one of the tricks is you pick up 5 costs as you're going so that it shrinks the pool that's available. So it'll try to give you the ones that you specifically want. You'll see sometimes it may dip under 50, but that's because I'm going to be able to sell back champs off my board and then re-roll back up. So it's just a little bit of playing back and forth. If you've been playing TFT for a while, then you kind of know the game. Notice we're very close to a gold 3-star Renekton, and we're just going to be 1 away from the Samira. We have a champion duplicator, so we can go ahead and do it whenever we want to, but we're going to try to do it naturally first. There's our gold 3-star Renekton. Now we have to just look for that one last Samira, and since this is the final fight, we can go ahead and roll everything down. And there's our gold 3-star Samira as well. And then we will just itemize her and then go ahead and slow it down so you can watch the final fight. And you will see with the 2 gold 3-star legendary champs, they make really, really quick work of this final champ. Now, let me show you some others that I did along the way. Viego was playing hide and seek, so I had to sell off a lot of my board to get him, but once I got him, we get to see what he can do against a final boss in Kabuko. And what he does is turn the entire board against him and ultimately wipe him out. And of course, once I got started, I had to see what some others could do, so let's check out a gold 3-star Garen. And it appears to me that Garen just holds them in place and allows everything else to kill them. And this is the one I probably found the most entertaining, but the gold 3-star Zac just turns the entire board into boblets. So you can essentially turn his health into whatever you want it to be if you're willing to click for that long. If you're going for score, one thing you can do is remove a lot of items from people. That way you get the maximum item greed possible. So in this case, there really was no doubt that it was going to be a victory because, yeah, how about a 40,000 health Zac? And we can now see what this giant blob can do against the final boss. Well, he's going to split into lots of pieces and then just bounce everywhere until they're destroyed. Now, you may be asking yourself, why do you have any support around the gold 3-star champs? You can just put them in on their own and have them win. Well, at one point, I decided to test that theory, and not exactly that theory. I got my gold 3-star Renekton, had some pretty good items on him, and then decided, you know what, let's get a Kabuko that's going to have decent health that he can take a bite out of. So we're going to go ahead and roll for the Kabuko, and then get his health up as high as possible so that Renekton can get a nice, good bite out of him. So we now have the gold Kabuko. We're going to just grab the best health items that we can, which will be the Ionic Spark, the Gargoyle Stone Plate, and then the Dragon's Claw, which will give him a little bit of extra health, and the gold 3-star Renekton should be able to take out the boss. At least that's what I was hoping. But yeah, it's not quite that easy. The Kabuko just grabs a hold of him. We're never really able to get to the back, and before I was ready to admit it, yeah, did not win that fight. So you kind of need the supporting team. And I will leave it up to you to get to the other gold 3-star 5 costs, but they're all a lot of fun to do. But there's one more build I wanted to talk about before I end this video, because it's kind of the one that was the most obvious to me as one that should be done, but it was a lot trickier to build, and that is Cypher. Because with Cypher, you're going to get intelligence points, as they call them, and then you can trade them in late in the game. Set 3-8 is the latest you can trade them in, and you get rewards based on it. Now, the reason I'm not doing a real detailed breakdown on Cypher is that there is no one real strategy to follow. You need to get to the 5 Cypher as quickly as possible. I like using Strategist where I can to try to keep the team strong, but unlike the first 2 builds where I could definitively say, don't roll just level or roll like a crazy person until this, and I would hit it consistently, with Cypher, there was just too much left up to chance because you need to get to Zed as quickly as possible, but these champions are not really cohesive on their own outside of the Cypher trait for them to win a lot of fights. You have to get lucky. Obviously, you're going to want to use Galio as your main tank. You're going to want to use LeBlanc with a lot of AP damage and then get a lot of AD onto Draven. And even though you're leveling pretty well and get yourself pretty itemized, some of the fights that are pretty easy in other builds become a little overwhelming in this one. But you're aiming for these types of things. This will give you a 2-star Garen and a Tactician's Cape, but we're waiting for 3-8. And by this point, we're kind of clinging to life, and this is what I found each time I tried this build, is it would take a long time to get to the point to find out whether I would win or lose. And again, a lot of the problem was that the Cypher champions don't have really strong synergies with each other. But if you get through, you get a big reward, which in this case is a 3-star 5-cost champion, which turned out to be Aurora. And Aurora is absolutely diabolical at 3 stars. Look at the amount of damage that gets poured out. And we'll just jump you to the final fight, but overall what I would say is if you want to get the 3-star legendaries, just go ahead and do the Bastion Marksman build. It's much easier, less stressful, you're not going to waste as much time, but a 3-star Aurora is pretty awesome. Hope you enjoyed the video, and have fun playing Tocker's Trials, and as always, have an absolutely awesome day.